Hello again, everybody. I just wanted to take you through my favorite technique in watercolor. It's called wet in wet. And for this technique, if you're working in a larger area, it's nice to have a big, wide, flat brush. This is just like a cheap household brush from the hardware store. But if you can get maybe a softer watercolor brush of this size, that's fantastic. But if not, you can make do with this. And what I'm just going to do is use it just to dunk in the water. And let me just angle this down so you can see what I'm doing here in my workspace. Okay. So I have a container of water. You'll need a container that has a wide enough mouth to fit your large brush in. And I'm just going to dunk it into the clear water and load it up with some water. And I'm going to just lay the straight water down onto my paper. Okay, I'm not going to cover the whole sheet because I want you to see what happens when we add in our watercolor. So you want to load up your brush with some water, and I'm going to swirl it around to load it up pretty heavily with some pigment here. And then let's really practice just kind of dropping the watercolor in and just letting it do its thing. So I don't know if you can tell, I've got a puddle of water here, not covering the entire sheet. I'm just going to drop in and make a stroke and see what happens. See, we get a nice soft edge. Okay. Let's try this again and just kind of experiment with making different marks. Let's see what happens with kind of floating in a spot of color and just kind of play around. This is the Payne's Gray again. And what I like about the Payne's Gray is that it granulates a little bit. It's doing some really fun kinds of textural things. And notice how the paper is buckling up a little bit, which you can avoid if you stretch your paper or if you're painting on a watercolor block. It'll buckle up a little bit, but it'll dry flat as a drum. This is all because this isn't, it's not stretched, so it's actually going to remain a little buckly. This actually looks like there might be some fingerprints, which is kind of a cool thing. It's kind of doing a resist thing here, which is kind of unexpected. But that's the kind of fun thing with watercolor, is to embrace these kind of happy accidents. So just kind of play around and see what happens. Maybe try different size brushes. This is a liner brush. It might be kind of interesting to see what happens. We can make some more delicate line work. But notice how it'll make a really kind of soft edge into the wet. So notice how the water only comes to here. So wherever I'm making a stroke onto the dry paper, I have a hard edge. Wherever I'm floating the color into the wet puddles, I'm getting a very, very soft and kind of fuzzy edge. You can see the difference if I drag my brush across this way. See over here, it's floating out and I'm getting a soft edge. And up here where I'm making a stroke onto the dry paper, you see I have a hard edge there. Okay, so be sure in your sketchbook to jot down wet in wet here up at the top, so when you come back, you'll know which technique you were working with. And again, resist the temptation to kind of mess with it. When you lay your stroke down, just leave it. Let the water do its magic. It'll kind of float out and do some really fun things. So let's remember, leave it, don't mess with it, just let the watercolor do its thing. and have fun. This is my favorite technique. I hope you enjoy it too. Okay, have fun practicing. I'll see you soon. Bye.